So I'm gonna.
Is it going now? Is it running?
No, I'm gonna ask you.
Yeah.
So we've got a few questions from my subscribers. The first question is from Yablonsky, and Yablonsky has asked Norman, and I know the answer that Norman will say to this. Do you think you could have beaten Lenny McLean in a street fight?
Lenny and Roy Shaw, total legends. I love them to pieces, mate. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even put myself, you know what I mean? I wouldn't put myself in that class because I got so much respect, like, you know what I mean? I knew Roy and I knew his kids and everything, like, you know what I mean? The family, I was friends with him. Lenny, I know his daughter, like, I've seen his son
Kelly,
shape up, yeah,
Jamie.
and his daughter was saying, like, Lenny did suffer, like, she suffers with depression. So bless her, like, you know what I mean? Be nice to her, she's a lovely girl, like, you know what I mean? I think the world of her, like, you know what I mean? But obviously she, you know what I mean? She's a beautiful girl, but she said Lenny sometimes would get, it weren't so bad much he was depressed. It weren't so much that his temper was bad, is that he'd get in depression, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you get depressed, you scream and shout like I used to, like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things, like, you know. But I could never put myself against another fighter, like, because, you know, all the old fighters I got respect for. And the new fighters would be too tough to fight anyway, so...
Can I just say, we've got a friend who used to work with Lenny on the doors, and he used to work with Norman, and he's known Norman for years, he's known Lenny, and he said to me, he knows them both very well, and he wouldn't like to say who would win out of a fight. He said it would be, they're two both very, very tough, and he couldn't decide who would win the fight. But he said Norman never gives up, so it was impossible to beat Norman unless you can knock him out.
I'll be honest, I've got to tell the honest God truth there. I was seeing a doctor before I got put away, like, because there was a different, something else would come out of me, like something nasty. And I started carrying a 12 bore around, like, because things were getting out of order, like, people, you know what I mean, you go somewhere, they come here to kill you, they're going to kill you, and this, that, and the other. And I had a, you know, I would pull a 12 bore out, and while I was in prison, I used it as anger and management.
Well, that's what you were in prison for.
Yeah,
for the shotgun.
Yeah, but it was I used that for anger and management, like, you know what I mean? I was there to be punished, like, you know what I mean? I was there to learn discipline. So what you got to do if you do a prison sentence is go to prison and leave your demon there behind, like, you know what I mean? When I got put down in the block, I mean, Charlie Bronson was there. I like Charlie, because some of the YP said when they got put down the block, he used to put them on his shoulder and go running around the yard. He used to always help them, like, you know what I mean? Talking about the fight game and everything, like, he wasn't bad. He was good with the YPs, right? And I respect him for it. He was down the block, and they wouldn't let me out for exercise. And I was going, well, why won't you let the screws are all right? But I had a row with one in the gym, and I back, he was like that, you know what I mean? But yeah, I was a powerful, I was in there, and they had to go at me about protein. I was taking all the protein powders and everything. You don't need to buy steroids. You don't need to go out there and think you're a gangster and start injecting stuff and putting stuff. It's all there in the chemist, like, Jesus Christ. They said, Norman, if you get any bigger, like, we won't be able to stop you, because I just blew up. And it was just all the protein I was taking. They were trying to stop me taking the protein. And the time I hit the screw, God bless him, I love you, mate, if you ever watch this, like, and I'm sorry, I did apologise to you, mate. He was trying to make me do the best benches, like, you know what I mean? And he was, and they're there to help you train, but to get the best out of you, like. And he was provoking me so I could really rep a load of reps out. And I thought he was having a pop at me. And no, he wasn't. He was just trying to get me to do the reps. And I thought he was having a pop at me, like. And when I got up, like, I faced him and I just went bang, like, oh, I can't do it. Fuck it, it's rock hard, that is. My hand!
I was sensing it.
My hand! And I caught him out in the belly, like. Of course, he's gone down, isn't he, like? And he's gone out on his hands and knees, like. And the poor geezer, it was nothing. It was nothing against me. Yeah. But I got warned about the protein, like. You know, we think of tough people going to prison, like. The only people that do the bird is your families, like, you know what I mean? Your mums, your wives, your kids, your aunties, your uncles. your loved ones. And if you hurt someone, their family like are suffering as well. Like, there's nothing tough about going to prison. There's nothing hard about it. Like, you know what I mean? I went down there. I got put down the block. I kicked off on one of the blocks, like, and I give a few people that are hiding in the cell, like.
Yeah.
And when I come out, because I already hit a screw, that's went against me, like. But I apologised, and I didn't mean to do it. I kept going down the gym, and I apologised to him, like. I didn't know. I thought it was personal, like, it personally, but it wasn't. He was trying to get me G'd up, so I could rep a load out as strong as a lion.
I remember that because they asked me to tell you to stop going down the gym because they were too scared to tell you. And I went, no, I'm not telling him. They had to get the women to tell you.
But what they done at the end, like, they lost that trust in me, like, because I turned and I apologised. I said, I'm sorry, like, and they could have, if they wanted to, the screws, the prison officers, like, bless them, I've still got friends who are in prison now, prison officers now. They could have beat me up and dragged me down the block and give me a fucking good hiding. What, you know what I mean? I probably would have deserved, like, because I should have never turned on them. And you know what I mean? It was wrong, like, but it was just a mix-up, like. But ever since then, they were different with me, like. They knew I could turn, like. So when I was down the block, I said, "Why don't you let me out for exercise?" I was down. I'd give a few boys, a few men hiding in the cells, like, and I left them. They're out cold, like. As I walked out, the screws come, he's heard the screaming and shouting, like, because they're all screaming, out, like Batman and Robin, out, bang, out, and all that bollocks, like. And as I've come out, like, the screws see me, like, and I've glared at him, like, and he's just hit the button, like, and I spoke to him after. He said, Norman, he said, I know what you're like, you know, on visits I kicked off as well. It wasn't me, it was some sort of beast, an animal was inside of me. And while I do my sentence, I had to leave that demon away in prison. And when I was down the cell, they wouldn't let me out for exercise because Charlie Bronson was down there, and I would have loved to met him, like, you know what I mean? But they said, you two, fucking, you know what I mean? You start kicking off, what are we going to do, like? It's going to be no end of problems, like. But I like this, and I'd like Charlie Bronson for what he'd done. He helped the YPs when they'd go down there. But ever since then, like, when they let me out that cell, I was down there in the block, locked up, like, you'd have a cardboard table and a cardboard seat. And you'd have the window open, it'd be winter, and they'd leave a mattress there. But if you was naughty, they'd take your mattress away, like, you know what I mean? And half of me liked it down there, and I loved it because it was nice and quiet. And he was quiet on the bang up. I mean, I think Charlie's still there now, and he in Woodhill, like. It's lovely, it's quiet, you don't hear, all you can hear is the birds singing, like. And half of me was going, I like this, must be the animal in me. I want to stay here. And the other half was saying, what about my children who are out there, like, you know what I mean? They haven't got a father. My wife's out there, like, she's got to go to work, like. The kids are probably getting bullied, like. She's got to go to a nightclub and work behind a bar, like. She's probably taking stick. She said to one bloke, like, he said, give me a Bex now. Yeah, my wife, yeah, my first wife, Tracy, bless her, like. And she said, what do you say? And he said, give me a bud, give me a bottle of Bud now. And she said, what do you say? Oh, sorry, Budweiser. But what she meant is please, don't you say please, like, and stuff like that, you know. And they
manners cost nothing.
And you know, it's a shame, like, because it's your family what hurt out there. And when I left the block down there in Woodhill, like, you know what I mean, I left the beast, the animal behind there, like. And I thought, no, I could see a shadow of myself as I'm walking out, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And ever since then, like, ever since I come out of prison, like, I've just buried him, like, you know what I mean? There's part of me. Some people think it's demons or they hear voices. Me, I think, because I'm always been a nice guy. There's something like, I wouldn't want to kick someone in the head. I wouldn't want to hurt someone. I don't like swearing at people, but I do. It's part of me what don't like hurting or being kind or cruel or whatever. And so I must have built another impression in me. Yeah. Another thing. At times, like, you know what I mean, it'd be taking over, and I'd think, like, especially with the boys with a knife and the kosh.
Yeah, you lost
and
it.
All that, like. I'd think, well, yeah, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes, like, and I'd let him out, like, he'd go, "Run!" Attack them and all this, that, and the other, like.
Well,
But I buried him, I left him in prison down the block. He still haunted the block in Wood Hill, like.
thank you, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate. Right.